In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Side podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still bad.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Steven.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That over there is Cash Kraus. Cash, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Three pretties.
Three pretties.
You normally don't get that.
No, you won't. And I
You do
usually
that.
won't go the extra mile and give you those extra pretties. But today, it's a pretty good day.
It's a special day.
It's a pretty good day. Because we are finally, well, first, this is our TV Tuesday.
Yes,
we gotta
TV
talk about that.
Tuesdays.
TV Tuesday. Those are keep going strong. Today, we are doing we were highly anticipated for it.
Absolutely.
We
When this
talked it up,
dropped,
yeah.
when the information dropped last year, we were up on this. We were all excited about it, and it is finally here.
Yeah, it dropped so concurrent to the actual dropping of the actual Space Force that we were shocked
gosh.
that a TV show could be made
Yeah.
so quickly.
The marketing and timing could not be better
Yeah,
for
so
this right now.
But yeah, so you already guessed we are reviewing the new Netflix TV show, Space Force. Starring Steve Carell. It's Steve Carell and Greg Daniels back for the first time since The Office.
Absolutely.
So the show was really, there was a lot going for this show when it first came out. I mean, there was high expectations. And I got to say, so far, it hasn't just from outside perspective, people have been hurting this show.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I think it has like a 47 on Metacritic. Some people said it was has like a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. But
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is hard to gauge for TV shows because they usually only go off of the first episode.
Right. I'm in the minority here, man. I laughed through this whole thing. I thought it was really funny. It was crude humor. The jokes landed for me. I thought it was hilarious the way they did POTUS, where it was just through the secure phones.
Yeah.
Like and all the stuff he was saying and all those, there were small little jokes throughout this where you had to really pay attention, to understand. It was like current world, but it was I thought it was funny.
I'm about half and half on that, where I did not really like the first 5 episodes, but I thought the last 5 episodes really tightened it up and brought it together for me. But yeah, at its best, it's a funny political satire of what's going on, because it plays off AOC and Pelosi and all them.
Yep.
But I thought the first 5, though, felt like kind of just like a slow sitcom with a really high budget. A lot of the jokes did not land for me for the first 5, but it's really hard to gauge a show on its first season alone, because The Office did not have a great first season.
No, it didn't.
If you go back and watch it, it's not even. I mean, they were definitely still trying to figure a lot of things out, and a lot of shows do that.
Well, it was so unique too.
Yeah.
Nothing like that had ever really been done.
But go and watch Parks and Rec, and it's slow like that too. You could see, but again, that happens to a lot of shows where the first season is kind of they're all figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to gauge. I do hope this does get a second season, because I want to see where it goes. Because like I said, the last 5 episodes I thought were really good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. It's trending #1 on Netflix right now, but how many people are really watching it?
Oh, I think a lot of people are
I
watching
hope so.
this.
Netflix doesn't release any of their numbers.
What's the thing
so
is,
we will never know.
look at what The Office was doing on Netflix. It was crushing. It was killing. You're trying to
yeah.
tell me you're not even going to get half the people
But that's
from
The
that
Office.
audience base?
And I think that hurt this show also, was it's obviously going to be compared to The Office.
Well, and
which
people
in,
think it's
in
like
most,
the mockumentary style shooting. That's what some people were upset about, but it's like, that's not what this is.
No.
It's different.
And comparing it to The Office, which is one of the most highly coveted shows of all time,
Yes.
it's going to fall short.
Right.
Every time. I don't think there will be another Office. I know it's really popular to be into The Office these days.
Right, of course.
But I do think we're not going to have another show like that in a long time. And for me, this hasn't shown it yet, but I like the characters. We have to talk about the actors because there is a lot of actors in this. John Malkovich, for one.
Was awesome in this.
I thought did great.
I loved him in this.
He
was so perfect for Dr. Adrian Mallory.
Well, he's so perfect as that down-to-earth voice of him just like second-guessing everything that our government and the military does. Because what this show does is poke fun of just how ridiculous our government is.
Well, like those
and just
space
where it's
games.
at right now. The space games. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But John Malkovich, Ben Schwartz, who I thought did amazing
He
as
did, of
fuck
course.
Tony. He did really. The side characters in this were arguably my favorite part. Lisa Kudrow also. His daughter did really good too. I just saw his daughter, what's her name? Her name's Erin in the show.
Diana Silvers.
Yeah, I just saw her in Booksmart, the Olivia Wilde.
Oh, yeah, that's right. She plays the friend, doesn't she?
Booksmart is amazing. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch
Still
it.
haven't
It is
seen it yet.
so I could not. It blew my expectations out of the water. And she was also in Ma that I just saw, the horror movie that wasn't that great.
Yeah. Oh, Ma, that's
The
right.
one with Olivia,
Yep.
Olivia Spencer, whatever her name is, but
Yeah, that was very.
she was in that. It
Mediocre.
was average,
Yeah.
very average, but
I was expecting this big twist at the end, and there wasn't one.
no. And
was like, what the hell?
Jimmy O Yang as Dr. Chan is amazing also.
Yes, he is.
John
Hilarious.
Malkovich's right hand man. He is very funny, and I just saw his stand up too. He's a pretty good stand up also.
I liked his relationship with Tawny Newsome, the Captain Angela Alley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I thought their
wasn't-
relationship was funny,
I
and I
know.
saw it too. I saw it coming when he brought up the statistical fact.
Oh yeah.
I was like, okay, they're leading towards that.
All right. Well, should we dive into
Let's jump
episode
into
1?
this.
Episode 1 titled "The Launch." So we'll just kind of give you the background what the show is about. Air Force Lieutenant General McNaird is promoted to 4-star general. It's a pretty big deal.
That's a huge
They're
deal.
not just giving those stars out.
No.
Well, they might be these days, but and he thinks he's gonna take over as the chief of staff for the Air Force, but little
And
does
that's
he know.
always been his dream.
Yeah, of course. You're head of the Air Force, that's a big deal. Little does he know though, POTUS, who is never referred to in name, but they just
Never.
always call it POTUS. But I mean, it's obviously Donald Trump, and even FLOTUS. It's Melania, right? That's her name, right?
Yeah, Melania.
Melania,
Yeah.
yeah.
But gosh, it is so funny what they do later on in this.
Exactly.
And see, that's where I was laughing so hard of those jokes were just.
And that's when I thought getting better. That was later on. That was right about when they go into the space habitat. Is
Yes.
where I thought the show really started picking up. But yeah. So little does he know that POTUS is starting a new branch of the military called Space Force, and they're all laughing about this. All
They
the
are,
generals, they're all shitting on it until General McNaird or Mark McNaird finds out that he's going to be in charge, of course, of Space Force.
Yeah.
And he's not happy about it. Which
No,
I
not
thought,
at all.
would you think he'd be happy about being in charge of any branch?
any branch of the military.
Especially
Dude, if
a
I
new
was
one.
the head of Space Force, I would wear that as a badge of honor. That is so cool.
But of course, like us, like anyone, they're all shitting on it because it sounds absolutely ridiculous.
course.
So it's his job kind of to make it look like it's a serious thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they're all just shitting on it. And all the generals are hilarious. It's like
They're
Jane
so
Lynch,
funny.
and it's just all
Yeah.
all comedian actors that you've seen a million times. And so 1 year later, things aren't going great.
No.
They're about to launch a new satellite, Epsilon 6, into orbit, and it's pretty much falling apart.
Yeah.
Nothing's ready. They had to delay the launch multiple times. Congress members are coming in, and they're all Congress members, or they're all characters of Congress members.
Yeah.
And because they want to know what the hell's going on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they're spending all this money, and so they have to launch it to put on a good show for Congress. And that's when we get introduced to Dr. Adrian, John Malkovich, and he's saying, "Scrub
Sitting
the
on the
launch."
couch. And I love that. Like, these were the jokes that were so good to me. Every single time Steve Carell would go in the office, his assistant would be like, oh, by the way, he's in there.
Yeah.
He didn't want me to say
Brad.
anything. Yeah, Brad.
He was a horrible assistant. Also a one-star
One-star
general,
general.
which is crazy. That he's working as his assistant or whatever.
But I definitely see the ties to Dwight from The Office with Brad.
Yeah,
you know what
kind
I
of,
mean? Like
yeah.
being that guy. They're completely different characters.
Yeah.
But still that kind of second man, that comedic relief.
He is funny.
You know, it's just great.
The best relationship though is probably the relationship between Dr. Adrian and Mark. You can see that really like I liked at the end where they were going like tie shopping together and stuff like that because they start out hating each other, you know, because he's a doctor and he's doing everything by the numbers and whatnot, you know, logically, and it's just not how our military is rolled. That's
it's
just
not.
how it's just not how it goes. So they go and they end up launching Epsilon 6 against Dr. Adrian's orders, and it works. To everyone's surprise, it launches into space, and while they are celebrating at night, the Chinese come by, and I did laugh at this part. This was one of the few parts I laughed at this first episodes, but when they just came over, and then the little net pops out.
Because they were talking earlier in the show that it was supposed to cost $1 billion for that net.
Yeah, that
something
net was
astronomical.
gonna,
Yeah. And they're like, can we really justify spending this sort of money? And then it just goes boop boop,
and it's the smallest. It's like a
Yeah.
3-foot net or
Right.
whatever, and it's hilarious. But the Chinese, they already have a giant satellite.
They do.
Like a full, like an IS International Space Station. But those guys get shit done.
They do.
They can build a hospital in a week. I'm sure they can build a fucking
Probably.
telescope pretty quick. But so that causes everyone to panic because Epsilon 6, they cut off the power supply, right? That's in episode 1. Episode 2, titled Save Epsilon 6, is pretty much what you think it is. They have to try to attach the solar panels again. And this was pretty funny with the chimp and the dog.
See, dude, this is where
I
I'm
thought
like,
that was over. There were some parts that I thought were pretty funny.
I really think if people watch this show through again the second time, you're going to pick up on and just realize like how funny it is the second time. I loved it. I thought this whole dog and monkey thing, I was laughing through this whole episode.
It
I thought
was pretty
hilarious.
good.
It's stupid. It's satire for sure. But you gotta let go and just realize that, you know what I mean? There's no real
Well, that's the thing
consequences.
about it was confusing because it looked like it was playing out like a sitcom, right? How nothing is nothing, you know, in a sitcom you can't take anything too serious because it's a sitcom, but it was playing out like it was like a HBO-esque show, you know, where I thought that was kind of confusing to people where at times you were thinking, oh, you know, this could never happen or whatever, but then at other times you're thinking, oh, now they're playing it straight. So I think that was kind of confusing. Or if it was played in like a TV scenario, you know, you could really think, oh, this is just crazy, you know, this stuff would never happen. But it was played out sometimes like it was supposed to be really serious and like a political satire. So I think that is what was confusing, where it felt like a sitcom, and then at other times it felt like a political satire that was supposed to be, you know, kind of real,
And I
kind
could
of
see
not.
that. That makes sense.
Because some things were so ridiculous that you couldn't even like imagine even our military doing.
Right.
But anyway, so they're trying to figure out how to fix Epsilon 6, and the only way they have a chimpanzee named Marcus and a dog up in space. They just left. They were just floating around, and they're pissed. They've been there a couple weeks at this point.
And it's kind of the theme of the history of astronauts and stuff and space and rockets is they shoot animals up there.
But
you
never
know?
two different types of animals to live,
Well, that's where the satire comes into play.
to live and
I think we actually have, though, individually both shot a chimpanzee up to space and a dog,
well, the
just not together.
first animal in space was
a dog.
Lakia.
Yeah.
But that was the Soviets.
He passed away.
That was,
Yeah.
yeah.
He
passed away.
did not
Well,
have
they
a
didn't really.
return.
They didn't have any. They were just happy they got the rocket up there,
Yeah,
and I'm sure they went through a lot of dogs to get that one up there.
Probably.
But we do that kind of shit for some reason. But yeah, for some reason they launched a dog and a chimp, and they just let them like up there mingling together, just running around loose.
And the first scene that we get is the monkey throwing the bone over to the dog, and it's nice and cute.
And they love it.
They love it, yeah.
That was right when they first got launched. It's been a couple weeks since that
It
happened.
has.
And Marcus has eaten the dog.
Well, the whole sequence where it's like he's trying to fix the chimpanzee's trying to fix the satellite.
Yes.
Trying to drill, and then he gets flung by the drill way out into space.
I like that. I did laugh at that part. That was hilarious where he goes flying and then the Chinese are there again. So like how are they not realizing this? Like how are they not picking up on satellite that these guys are there? But they intercept and they catch fucking Marcus.
God, it's so funny. But I love Mark. I love the way that he was like, because, you know, when the monkey was dying and stuff, it was this big dramatic thing where he's giving the monkey a speech as if the monkey could understand him. And then he's like,
what does he call him? He calls him a chimpstronaut?
Chimpstronaut or something
And
like
a
that.
dogstronaut for the other dog, yeah.
And he's like, give him the highest medal award. And then after it, he's like, no, take that back. You know, it was just
because he's a
funny. It was
murderer.
hilarious.
Because he
ate
murdered
the
the
dog.
dog. So now they were super upset that he but he somehow almost saved Epsilon 6. They almost managed, and this is all happening while Dr. Adrian was like, no, we got to come at it from a logical standpoint. And but Mark said, no, get the monkey out there. He'll do that. But so it doesn't work. The Chinese end up taking the monkey as a prisoner of war.
They do.
And we never see the monkey, or the chimp.
No,
we never see him again. Poor
No.
guy. In jail now. In a Chinese jail in space. The first ever space POW.
Wow. That is kind of...
It's a high praise.
It is, but it's also something you don't want to be.
No, absolutely
Regardless.
So now it's looking bad because the country really is staring at Space Force right now, and they want them to get it up and going again. And that's the end of episode 2. Episode 3, Mark and Mallory go to Washington. So Mark and Adrian, they have to travel to Washington to present the case of Space Force budget to the House of Armed Service.
Again, for me, another really funny episode.
This one's pretty good. Fuck Tony is pretty funny in this episode.
Yes, he is.
But so they have to go there and they have to talk again to the budget committee to try to get them to give them $1 billion or something.
It's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money, and they haven't done anything with it so far.
No, they haven't.
The Chinese are killing them in every sense. So, Aaron. Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Mark's wife, played by Lisa Kudrow, is in prison. Never.
She is in prison.
Never talks
tells
about why. She's doing 40 years.
40 to 60 years, yeah.
And Mark has an estranged relationship with his daughter because they had to move them up in the middle of Colorado to start this.
With her mom going to prison as well.
Yeah, she had to move from D.C., the big city, to the little tiny, Wild Horse or something like that?
Yeah, Wild Horse.
Yeah. So she's pretty pissed.
Oh, understandable.
She's getting suspended from school, flipped off the teacher. That's classic. Once in a while, teachers deserve it.
In all seriousness, though, as a child, it would be hard to be a military child. Like if your dad or mother is,
especially when your mom is in 40 years in federal prison. Yeah, that can't make it easy.
Yeah,
no. So
what is your guess? What did she do? It never jumped into that.
Well, it's federal. It's federal, so she had to. Has to be something with, like his job or something. Like she must have tried to stole secrets or something like that, or embezzled
but that's
or something.
So weird.
Yeah,
that's a weird choice.
It is really weird.
I'm really interested to see what they do in season 2 of that.
I know. That's what you made the entire time. You're thinking, oh, there's something bigger here, but it never got into that.
I thought it was going to reveal it at the end of season 1.
At first, you're thinking, man, why did they even have this mom character in it? Mm-hmm. I mean, if they were just going to have Mark with another woman the whole time, like how much are we going to get of her until they just eventually leave her out of the show? Because she was already barely in it, Lisa Kudrow. I mean, barely. At one point, she breaks out super fucking easy.
Yeah, well, I was like, what?
Because
her girlfriend,
I
forget her name.
Girlfriend,
yeah, but
Tina or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember. So anyway, so they're at Washington and they're still asking for the budget, and the leader of the Air Force is General Grabenston, who does not like Mark.
No, he does not.
And Grabenston asked Adrian to betray Mark earlier in that, and Adrian ends up not betraying him.
No. And we see that a few times, that he's initially going to betray him, and then he doesn't. So it is kind of that relationship forming throughout season 1, kind of developing your characters.
Yeah.
It's Again, as you said before, with only one season of The Office, until you got really into the characters, I thought they did a good job laying down the foundation.
Yeah, and you can see that there's a lot of depth through these characters. You know, that you could dig deeper and deeper in further episodes. And see, especially with Mark. You know, he's got a lot of stuff going on with his wife leaving and all that stuff. But you could see that there's more to these characters that you would like to see in further seasons. But so Adrian argues on behalf of Mark's school to increase militarization of space. He says you got to do it because, you know, we have satellites up there and there's people fucking with those satellites. It's going to cost a lot of money, saves a lot of lives.
And with predicting weather,
yeah,
3 times as fast.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he's saying is there's satellites up there, we got to protect them. Or it's going to hurt the people down here. So that kind of gets the congressman to agree, you know. And I thought the funniest part was the Handmaid's Tale ladies break it, and they're getting the wrong. But I laughed so hard that they're all dressed up like a handmaid, like, because that's such a popular thing now to protest as. You know, anytime women's rights, the people are dressed up as handmaids. It was
relevant and funny. It was super
relevant and funny. Yeah. So, but he was satisfied by their answers. The committee dismisses Space Force, and they say that they're going to give them the money, and they're going to start investigating the Air Force budget. So Gravison's pissed about that. Right. That's in episode 3. Episode 4, Lunar Habitat. So one of the participants of a 2-year mock experiment on lunar habitat leaves before the experiment ends. So Mark immediately says, yeah, I'll do it, because things aren't going well at home. So he's like, go ahead, let me go. And it's only for 1 week.
Yeah, 1 week.
And these people have already been there for 2 years. And but they're all saying that he's gonna crack immediately.
Yes.
And he damn near does. He immediately starts having night terrors. And
severe ones too. Comically severe.
Yeah, and he's just not meshing at all with the people already in the habitat that have been in there for 2 years, especially the guy with the didgeridoo. It doesn't work out for him.
When there's some really awkward moments, too, when he first gets there and he sees ants and a mess everywhere. And we're all equal.
Yeah. The funniest bit to me in this episode was the potato bit. Where everything was potatoes, even when he passes out, the guy runs, here, you got to eat something. And he eats it. He goes, oh, sorry, potatoes. It's all mashed. Because it's the only thing that grows on
the moon.
The moon is potatoes, yeah. So everything they eat is fucking, that's all they're growing is potatoes. That's the only test they're doing is fucking potatoes. A lot of starch. Could you imagine? A lot of starch.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You just aren't getting
I don't even know if that's healthy.
It's not. It's definitely not. I don't think you could survive on potatoes. No. But, so he, out of frustration, he ends up going on a run and he passes out.
Right.
Of heat exhaustion.
Yeah, because he's on a run, but he's in an astronaut suit.
He's got to wear the astronaut suit to make it realistic.
To simulate. Yeah.
And and he passes out. But this is after he's been having like a bunch of. He's only been in there like 2 days.
That's it.
But
he started eating ants too at one point. He's like picking them up and eating them. I'm like, this guy's crazy.
Yep. And while he's gone, Aaron attempts to throw a party, and no one fucking shows up, which is wild to me.
No kidding. I was like, huh?
That's what everyone was looking for while we were in high school, was an empty house. That's all we needed, was an empty house.
And then
no one ever had an empty house.
Come on.
I would have showed up at anyone's fucking house if it was empty. No, it doesn't matter if I didn't know who they were. I mean, if I never met them before. You need nothing. It's just a place to drink.
Yeah, that seemed a little far-fetched to me.
But, so it's a sad thing, you know, they're both, it's just showing that they're both struggling.
Well, and she ordered 20 pizzas.
Yeah, and no one showed up.
She was eating a lot of pizza.
And even the pizza guy was giving her shit. She's like, it's a lot of pizza.
Yeah. And I like the writing in this when he does come home later on, and there's ants on the pizza.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny.
So yeah, he's still, while this is going on, she visits Maggie, her mom, in prison, Lisa Kudrow. And he tells her that the father is struggling and he needs her support and whatnot. And while this is going on, the funny part is the first lady is requesting that she develop the new Space Force uniforms. And fuck Tony, he's all for it. My God. He's just always trying to move up, the ladder.
And this scene between fuck Tony and Brad was so hilarious.
It is, for sure, yeah. well, just the fucking uniforms that she ends up designing are so damn funny. They're hilarious. They have like jewels and like those things that like drape over you and go on your shoulder.
Yep.
They look
One has a cape.
yes.
Like a fashion cape. You know?
And eventually, though, Brad just has to tell her no.
Well, no, remember, when Mark comes home finally, he just says very dryly, he goes, and get rid of those uniforms. And Brad's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, and he turns around and has Space Force written on the ass.
Yes.
And but yeah, that's pretty much how it ends. Is he returns home and he just says, "Get rid of the uniforms." Yep. Hilarious. So that's episode 4. Episode 5 is Space Flag, and again, this is one of those episodes where I felt like it felt so sitcom-y for me.
Yes.
Like, this is an episode right out of a super stereotypical, like, ABC fucking sitcom.
Right.
Something that you just, it was off-putting to me that it was, like, this high production value, and it's something like this. It's the Space Force and the Air Force. They are competing in a space flag. And this is an exercise that primarily focuses on lunar combat scenarios. And it's so to simulate space and like their suits, they just wear balloons.
Yeah, that was an odd choice.
Yeah, just balloons, and they can't get shot. And if they do get shot, they have to duct tape themselves. Again, not my favorite episode. Right. Probably my least favorite episode of the entire thing.
And I would have to agree with that.
But yeah, and Adrian, of course, he doesn't support Space Flag because anyone with half a fucking brain could see that this is
a terrible
so
idea.
Stupid.
Yeah.
But they do it anyways.
It actually makes a mockery of the military.
And I get, I get having war games. That's what they're basing.
Well,
off,
yes, of course.
But that is a giant operation of like hundreds of acres and like thousands of men. It's not 9 guys in the middle of the desert playing with
BB guns.
Yeah, and I get that satire, but I think good satire is just a small parody of something that's already ridiculous. Right. Yeah. So to make it this much more ridiculous, I just think it didn't work.
Well, they could have taken it much more serious and had like their serious version of a game.
Exactly.
And just done a little transition, something a little different.
Yeah.
Than what you do, but keep it really grounded and real the way like war movies actually do.
Yeah, or just do a war games and just make that whole thing funny, just this war games in general that it's happening, make that funny, and the you didn't need to add in like the balloons and like the daisy BB guns and the little the cubicle knives, scissors up. I thought it was just too ridiculous, but they do it, and they're also, while they're doing this, they are testing exoskeletons. Seems like an odd time.
Seems weird.
But probably the only time I laughed in this episode was like
when the guy's doing the stretches or whatever on the wall.
Like, no, he says something like, no, the part where they're all in the exoskeleton and they can barely move at all, and he's like, the Air Force is probably just like that, and they. Hands over, and they're doing like front flips and like cartwheels, and they can move so well. While the Air Force ones are they can't bend down at all.
And that was the ongoing joke, because in the next scene that we see them is that one guy's got his leg all the way up on the wall, like super stretchy.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that was the only part I thought that was pretty funny. Like, because their exoskeletons were so much better than the fucking Space Force. Yeah. So anyways, they do that, and Mark thinks that Adrian is sabotaging because he's
against war,
and he's the one who chose
space warfare,
and he's the one who chose the
space skeletons
on purpose. But throughout most of the exercise, the Air Force team led by Grammerson defeats all of Space Force except for Mark. And very cliche, again, sitcom-y, he ends up coming at the very end.
Yep.
In just a silly is all I can describe it. He just pokes them with the, it was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be funny.
I do agree with you on that.
It did not land for me at all. But yeah, and Adrian also kind of like cheats too, right? He interferes in the game.
He sabotages their exo.
Yeah. So really, they shouldn't have lost at all.
No,
the Air Force should have won. But again, I don't know what this episode accomplishes at all. except showing that I guess Mark is the hero
I guess so.
and that Gravinston is the asshole, but we knew that.
Right.
We knew that very early on. I don't think we needed an entire episode to establish it. But that is the end of episode 5. That is the first half of Space Force.
It is.
Again, I think it started off slow, but these next 5 episodes, because we've already watched ahead,
Yeah, we have.
I think they pick up and they tighten up also where a lot more jokes are landing and a lot more frequently as well.
Okay.
That's all I got for it.
Alrighty, well, that is our TV Tuesday for Space Force. If you guys like what you've seen here, please be sure to like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification for all the latest updates on this channel. If you guys are listening on podcast format, you guys can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Be sure to check out our social media pages, Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Cash is on Twitter, that's just Cash. Instagram, Have You Seen It? Facebook, Have You Seen It Podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus, and until next time.
Bye.